Hello, everyone. Mark Merrill with Firm. Who's best for Maine Governor? Well, we're going to get right down to it here, folks. On today's program, Maine citizens, we at Firm have put together some audio segments of 3 of Maine's gubernatorial candidates for 2026, plus some researched information to present from other candidates briefly for the Blaine House as well. God help us all. Let's go over to the first 3 candidates we have heard from on previous podcasts. I'm going to get to the gentleman you see before you right now, J. Martin Vashon from Penobscot County. Here's what he had to say in an interview we did with him late the summertime of this year.
We have a long way to go to restore those, but if we do it, everyone gains. Again, no one loses. We all gain in this manner. Some people, I should feel a little pressure the way they operate or trying to parasite off other people. No, they'd feel a pinch. But other than that, all should be better.
So will you be, after you do the registering and everything down there in Augusta, will you be updating your website?
I stayed away from the website because what I wanted heard was not allowed. About the worth of traditional family and its protection. No. Yeah.
Isn't that a violation right there?
Yeah, I suppose it is.
Anyway, go right ahead.
Yeah. Again, I'm here to protect traditional family. It provides the best quality of life for everyone involved.
Thank you, Martin. I appreciate your time.
Next up, folks, we have a gentleman that we did an interview by phone. He's from South China, John Glowa, Sr., and we will put his picture up here momentarily. Thank you for joining us, as always, on Firm, Fairness in Reporting Media, as we try to cover as many of the candidates running for office, public office, as possible. I think you may remember Mr. Glowa. We'll get him up there in just a second. He has quite a stellar background, folks. He's run for governor before, as has Mr. Vashon, but as you'll see, Mr. Glowa has a lot of consideration for the general public. Let's see how that's going to turn out. Here's a segment of our interview we had by phone with Mr. Glowa back around the same time, early in the summertime of 2025.
Well, I'm not talking about the state auditor. I'm talking about creating an independent panel of experts, government experts, who know how government is supposed to work.
Okay.
And as far as I'm concerned, as far as politics goes, leave politics to the legislative branch and get the politics out of the executive branch. The governor should be leading. The governor should be running the show the way it should be run. The governor should be putting the people first. That's what I intend to do. Put the people first and work in the public interest. Put that first and foremost. Put the people first and foremost. So what I want to do is appoint an independent panel of experts to look at our state constitution, all of our laws, all of our rules, all of our programs, and this has taken 200 years to create this mess. It's going to take a long time to dig us out from under it.
Very true. That's true.
We have what I call continuous improvement. And that's not happening now. The government, executive branch certainly is not being held accountable, does not want to be held accountable. And that's why I believe we need to have an independent auditing. Now, I'm not talking about financial auditing. I'm talking about program auditing, to look at every program to see if, in fact, it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Government needs to be held more accountable. Absolutely. And, I certainly intend to do that. And when asked previously about my top priorities, I think my initial priority is to try and correct this very, what I call, rigged system. Unless we take care of the system and get it democratic, we're never going to solve our problems. They're going to continue, and they're going to continue to get worse. And unfortunately, the government is the source of a lot of our problems, certainly not the solution.
That was John Glowa, folks, of South China. And our third audio segment is from a gentleman I believe most people know already, by name Bobby Charles. He has been just about everywhere, if you can think about that for a minute. It's a big state that we have to begin with, ladies and gentlemen, as you all well know, from Kittery to Fort Kent and then going crosswise from Freiburg to Lubeck. This here is a better way you can see him. There he is. Bobby Charles. And he will give us his views. Bottom line. No holds barred. Direct. You'll see what I mean in a second. I believe he said it just about as well as you can, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to the things we're dealing with here in the state of Maine, and it hasn't been a pretty sight. Now, unfortunately, we do need to bring about the other candidates for governor. Not that they are ineligible, but doesn't mean that they are the right people. But before we do, I want to caution everybody out there listening to our program today, which is Who is Best for Maine Governor? On our firm program, Mark Merrill for Fairness in Reporting Media. These people are some of the ones you need to really look out for, folks. I think you've probably seen our little sign here before about bad Samaritans. You know, the ones in sheep's clothing. Yeah. So as for the rest of those folks in the crowded field of candidates, of course, there's yet to be former Secretary of State Shenna Bellows. I'm going to point her out, folks, because she deserves to be pointed out, and she needs to resign. If you haven't heard it here first, you're bound to hear it somewhere else. But you know what? I hope you do hear it here first, because we're publishing this right on the date that we're recording it, right out there before the middle of October. And Shenna Bellows needs to resign now. It is a constitutional violation to be a sitting Secretary of State who still has, under the laws and the job description of the Secretary of State, I don't care what state you're talking about, to oversee elections and ballot counts. That's part of the job. No. No, you don't, Bellows. You step down. Or believe me, my dear lady, it's about as nice as I'm ever going to call you that. You, not to mention your boss, yet to be former boss, thank God, you're going to face his wrath, not mine. I'm just the messenger, and I know the law. I've covered it for about 28 years of my professional life as a reporter and journalist. Step down, Bellows, or you're no candidate. You should be disqualified if you do not. The other laundry list of people include former Senate President Troy Jackson, just another wannabe, Hannah Pingree, riding the coattails of her mother, Shelley, Angus King III, talk about riding the coattails. And even more recently, Jonathan Bush, nephew of George W. A lot of coattail riders there, don't you think, folks? Kind of looks that way to me. Brother. As for the Republican side, though, there's also Ken Capron, who we don't know that much about, but we also have some independent candidates like Rick Bennett, a real Democrat in disguise, folks, if you don't mind, Ed Crockett, Jason Cherry, a Democrat we left out, and Republicans David Jones and James Libby. Now, we don't know if James Libby is any relation to Laurel Libby. I don't believe that he is. So, ladies and gentlemen, one last parting shot, for we hope that the party that's leaving you know her all too well, folks, and her cohort down here. Please, Janet, just go away. Your run for the U.S. Senate against Susan Collins, I really doubt it. We can't take another 6 or 12 years of you. She's already 77, folks. And you know what? She's an angry old woman. And she doesn't want to obey the law anymore, because all she's known since before she even thought of becoming governor, she was twisting it and tying it in a knot. As we said about Ms. Bellows, you better drop out or resign as Secretary of State so that we really have some fair elections in 2026, madam. So, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you register to vote and research. Do a lot of research on these candidates. Every single one of them, folks. You have to do it with a microscope. or even with possibly the help of some family members over the internet there to make sure that all bases are covered, shall we say. A thorough scan and scrubbing. This is very important, ladies and gentlemen, the state of Maine. Our future as a state and as a free culture and society, plus an affordable place to raise a family and live a life of prosperity instead of being harassed from wannabe government treasonous dictators. Contact us anytime, folks. Right here. fairnessandreportingmedia@gmail.com. fairnessandreportingmedia@gmail.com. See our podcasts on YouTube and X 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As always, peace to everyone.